All right, if you're here with us on Garage Takes, do us a huge favor. Hit that subscribe button right now. Michigan football fans, Lions fans, this is your time right now to get keyed in every week here on Garage Takes with us. Hop into the comment section down below as well and let us know what you guys think about this team right now, Brant. Okay. Michigan does get another win this past weekend. It wasn't the prettiest first half, but the second half seemed a little bit like Joel Klatt called the 2023 team, which was that boa constrictor analogy where they just kind of sucked the life out of Wisconsin. No, they didn't drop 40 points on them or anything like that, but it was a pretty convincing win. You saw some promising improvements, especially from the wide receivers. It looked like Donovan McCulley looks every bit of a wide receiver one. You'd love some more consistency, get him some more looks. I don't know how he just has one touchdown, but that was it. But man, that kid looks good. Andrew Marsh, true freshman. We talked about it last week. He comes out, looked pretty good, 4 for 80. And then you're hearing about Jamar Browder, who we mentioned way back in fall camp as a true freshman, another big-bodied receiver who has gotten some love recently. We've seen some improvements from Michigan. We know what the run game is. It's very good. It's one of the best in the country. The wide receivers are a big question mark. Bryce Underwood's pretty good at football, and this offensive line is they're good but not great, I think is what's fair to say right now, at least at this point. And this defense seems to be scratching the surface of being really, really special, actually. And so that's Michigan. When you look at USC, Jaden Mayava, I know we've talked about him from time to time on this podcast because I've been concerned about this game at USC, much more than you have, and I think we maybe disagree on I don't want to say the importance of it. I know we both agree that it's an important game, but for me, it's a must-win game, and I have my reasons why. And Brant, you feel the opposite, that this is not an absolute must-win. So let's start right there. And really, for both of these teams and these programs, Brant, they're kind of either must-wins or program-defining wins for a variety of reasons. Is it must-win for either team, for Michigan or USC, and why?
Yeah, I think when you look at the Michigan side of the coin, I don't think that this is must win as in your season is over, your season you're just playing for a New Year's Six bowl at this point or whatever it is now. I guess it would be the Outback Bowl or the Capital One Bowl or whatever it is. I think that Michigan when they if they're able to beat Washington at home, take care of business against Michigan State, Purdue, Northwestern, Maryland, those teams, which I think they will. Then you have the showdown with Ohio State, and if that team is 9-2 at that point, Dave, they're they go 10-2, they're getting in. But I think your concern would be a 9-3 Michigan team wouldn't get in, and I would agree with you at that point. So you don't want to put all the chips on the table against Ohio State if you don't have to. Why not just go win at USC, who looks to be a gettable team, but they also are going to score on you, which does make us a little bit nervous because Wisconsin couldn't do anything against that Michigan defense outside of the opening drive. So I know Mayava, he does seem a little bit scary when you watch him play. Runs a good zone read. He's able to get the ball quick out of his hands. He seems in command of that offense. I do believe that Mayava will give you some turnovers, though. And I think that's where Michigan's going to need to be opportunistic. And they just haven't been super opportunistic as a defense with takeaways. I mean, they had the interception against Wisconsin, but that was a clear PI that did not get called. And it was basically, somebody tackle a receiver and Rod Moore comes up with a pick, which was amazing. But you know, uh, another play, Dave, that I'd like to touch on real quick is the Rod Moore, the tight end screen that came back as the throw back to the other side of the field. If Rod Moore doesn't make that play, that dude's either scoring or he's getting down to the 20-yard line pretty easily. So there were a couple things in that game that went Michigan's way. But I look at it and I say, if Michigan doesn't beat this USC team, the season's not over. I do think that USC is probably cooked at that point because they're going to have to play Notre Dame still, and I don't think they can beat Notre Dame. Actually, I think that Notre Dame's going to end up making the playoff, oddly enough, as they have two, right, as you roll your eyes. But, I mean, that's a two-loss team at the end of the season, I think, and they get in. But I don't think that Michigan's everything rides on this game. I will quickly, Dave, I will say referendum game for Sharon Moore in a couple different ways. I think Sharon Moore needs this game than Lincoln Riley might need this game. And that's crazy to say because Lincoln Riley feels like he might have a hotter seat than Sharon Moore. But after the way we faded last season and early October, we can't do that again, Dave. This team feels like it's on a bit of an ascension, but not really like on the real uptick. But they need to get there. So Sharon Moore needs to find a way to win this football game. I think for Sharon Moore purposes, outside of Michigan's football season being done.
That is the perfect lead in as to why I think they need this game, because you're right. I mean, yeah, a 9-3 team or having all the chips in against Ohio State and having it all kind of fall on that for them to make the CFP. Yes, to me, yeah, that's of course I would like to win this game to not have to worry about that or think about that. But it's not even that for me. It's what you just named. This team right now is ascending, right? I look at the season as a whole and in different segments. In segment one, right, of the season here, Michigan did pretty good. They graded out pretty okay. That Oklahoma loss is looking better and better. It may start looking worse as John Mateer is hurt, and who knows what they do against Texas and whatever the rest of their schedule. But right now, Oklahoma's the number 6 team in the country, and Michigan hung around the best they could with a true freshman quarterback on the road against a non-conference team. Okay, you won the game at Nebraska. You're now 2-0 in the Big Ten. This team is ascending right now, and you have a true freshman at quarterback and a Sharon Moore who is back for the remainder of the year who needs this win. And I think my concern is, because I agree with you. I think if they lose this game, the season is not over at all. It's far from over, as a matter of fact. You can go through those remaining games like you did. Washington, I do think, is going to be a very tough game. I would have major concerns about that if we lose this game in particular. Then it's like, it ain't even just about Ohio State. It's like, okay, the season will be over. You drop one against Washington or don't show up against a rival game in Michigan State, which I don't think will happen, but the pressure does increase a little bit more. Right now, I look at the overall vibe and energy of this team. They're coming together and kind of solidifying themselves in real time right now. My concern is because they are a young football team. Yes, there is some experience on there. You mentioned Rod Moore. Was stoked to see him make that play and just look like his old self again. But this is a young football team and guys who haven't been there before, guys who haven't done it before, to go on the road in an environment like the Coliseum and get this win against Lincoln Riley. You got the coaches now. Of course, the media is kind of running with this thing of Sharon Moore when they asked him about the game being sold out and his thoughts. I mean, I think it's only like their second sellout game. He's like, well, that's because Michigan's coming, which was a little bit like, all right, let's not get bulletin board material there, Sharon. But then Lincoln Riley's response to that today, I don't know if you saw it, was basically, I don't really care what he has to say. Where I'm looking forward to playing the game. And so now you got this weird little, the media kind of takes and runs with this thing. And I think that they, at the end of the day, Brant, if Michigan goes in and they win this game, forget the loss talk. If they go in and win this football game and they move to 5-1 with everything in front of them, because now the rest of the schedule is okay. It's not on cruise control at all, but you are basically using the remainder of the schedule as prep for Ohio State, and you feel pretty good about what you've done so far. Doesn't mean that everything's going to be a layup or a gimme, but I think it's incredibly important for just the overall direction of this team. I think you lose, you take a step back, and you kind of go right back to we got to figure some stuff out here. Now Washington's coming in, and again, it is not going to define the entire season, but to me, this is the most defining part of the season thus far. It's not the Oklahoma game. It wasn't the, on the road to Nebraska. Those things are done, obviously. What's right here in front of you, and maybe that's an obvious thing to say, is this game at USC. You can't lose this one. Lincoln Riley, USC, you're right. I mean, you drop this, they play Notre Dame. I think that game's next week, actually. yeah, their season probably is done, and maybe some major questions about Lincoln Riley and the way he builds teams ever surviving in the Big Ten and the way they play football. We'll see about that. But I think Michigan needs this win badly. Brand, I got a couple questions for you. Okay. I want to talk about the running backs for a second. Wayman Jordan, USC's running back, looks to be one of the best in the Big Ten for sure. Justice Haynes does as well. You know, they both arguably are in the conversation to be some of the best running backs in the country. Where do you think Michigan stands in that battle there of who's got the better running backs, the better running back room? Do you give that edge to Michigan or to USC?
I would give it to Michigan at this point. I think Bryce Underwood plays a factor there, and Jordan Marshall does as well. But I think that the way that Michigan can take away maybe Wayman, where I don't know if USC can completely take away what Michigan wants to do. But I also believe that Maeva through the air can really test this Michigan football team, and that's really what it's going to come down to is the USC passing game against the Michigan secondary. But Dave, to your point, if Wayman Jordan can break off a couple runs, now you've really got Michigan in a pickle, and that's something I am certainly concerned about because I watched Wisconsin's opening drive, and they stuck it down Michigan's throat by what, Dave? Running the football, and there was a couple, 7-and-outs or whatever there was there for the passing game, but really a lot of that came through the ground.
And the other piece of this pass game you were talking about, and what it's not just Jaden Mayava either. It is they have Makai Lemon, Jacoby Lane. If Jacoby Lane is healthy and is playing, he is the second best. You could say in the country, definitely the second best wide receiver in the Big Ten, in my opinion.
They're two of the best receivers in the Big Ten.
You are, yeah, exactly. And so you put those two out there with Jaden Mayava, who, look, he was plagued by the turnover issue last year, which raised a lot of question marks. And you had the Miller Moss thing, and then he came in, and you could see it, but a lot of turnovers. This year, he's cleaned that up quite a bit, anyways. I think that where Michigan has some major depth concerns is in their secondary. And so when you couple that with Jacoby Lane and Makai Lemon, if they're both out there, and Jaden Mayava, it's going to be tough. Now, I think where Michigan has the edge is up front and in the trenches. And that is, we saw it when USC played Illinois. Brand, you were texting me. You're like, look, this is what I'm telling you about USC. They don't want it. You can tell they don't want it. And I do think that you're right to a certain extent. If Michigan's going to win this football game, it's going to be old school Jim Harbaugh, Michigan style football, which is, and it doesn't mean we're not going to throw the football, but it's going to be winning up front on both sides of the ball. And look, while Michigan hasn't seen two wide receivers like Jacoby Lane, Makai Lemon, USC's offensive line has not seen a defensive line like Michigan is going to bring to the table when Derek Moore and TJ Guy and Jason Barham and all these guys are lined up there. They haven't seen it. And so I think if Michigan can genuinely win on both sides of the football in the trenches, this is going to be I think it's going to be a very, very close game. I do. I think if Michigan wins or USC wins, I think this is going to be a very close game. But Michigan will have the edge if they can win in the trenches. If they get into an early shootout, like you said, they come on down, they're running the football well, they throw a touchdown, whatever that looks like. Michigan playing from behind right now, I just don't have, while we've seen the explosive plays on offense, in particular from the run game in Justice Haynes, I do not love that scenario on the road for them to play from behind. So what are your final thoughts here?
One last thing, Dave. Yeah, as my lights go out. Must
always.
mean I need to end the segment. No, the last thing I'll say is punts are better than turnovers in this game. Absolutely. And I think that we need to absolutely hone in on that.
Yeah, you got it. And when you're punting the football, punt it well. This will be, I know it sounds dumb, but like, we've seen Michigan struggle with that, and field position is going to certainly matter in a game like this. So let us know in the comment section down below. What do you guys think? What are you expecting to see from this Michigan USC game? What are your predictions? We want to know what you think. And like I said at the beginning of the episode, if you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button here on Garage Takes. We'll be back next week. Go Blue.